Well, welcome to Medical Sales U. I'm your host, Dave Sterrett, and I just want to thank all of you for joining in. We have quite a variety of guests and content on this podcast, and I just want to thank all of you who have shown interest in the course. We started this back in April, and we have our first students. We had one student, physical therapist. He jumped on a call with me. We started the process of mentoring him, how to shine an interview process, how to use LinkedIn. He got his first offer within about 2 weeks. And I actually just coached him recently and said, let's hold off on that. Let's not do an associate role. Let's move to a full line rep. And so the career path for a lot of you is different. And that's why we started Medical Sales U, is because we want to help you define what job is best for you in this industry. Now, I know that a lot of you come from a clinical background. Some of you are teachers. You've never sold anything. And so today's guest has written a book called The Sale, but it's not just about selling. It's more about integrity. And the reason I have Alex Demczak on this show is, one, Alex is a great guy. He's a Wall Street Journal best-selling author. Formerly, he played in the SEC football. He's started a couple businesses. He's a good family man. But I think there's principles here that's going to help you in your journey for the listener who's wanting to break into sales. And for all of us who've been in the industry for a while, to be reminded to live a life of integrity. Alex, it's great to have you on the show.
Dave, thanks so much for having me on. And it's an honor to connect with you again. And man, I'm just honored to be here because been about a year and a half since we connected, man. I'm just seeing what you're doing. You're adding new family members to your family and doing all these great things, man. So yeah, sorry my audio was messing up there earlier, but man, I'm excited to be here and just dive in with you, man.
Well, Alex, let's just jump in and talk about this book. It's a Wall Street Journal best-selling book, and it's called The Sale. It's a fictional story. But I think there are some principles that will be transferable to my audience. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people want to get into medical sales, Alex, and their desire is like, I want to make a lot of money. But the truth is this industry has lost a lot of respect from people. It's lost a lot of trust. The whole medical industry in the last couple of years, it used to be one of the most respected industries, and now there's a lot of people asking, is pharma telling us the truth? Are they just in it for the money? And so I think your book is going to inspire us. What inspired you to write this book, The Sale?
Well, thanks for saying that. And what's fun is even a backstory for me. When I graduated from University of Missouri, I remember interviewing for a medical sales company right out of college. And my buddy referred me to this job. And I remember the interview took place at a country club. And I remember being like, wow, I don't belong here. I haven't been to one of these things ever. And I remember being in this country club and right across the table from me, and he says, Alex, what are you doing for Christmas this year? And I was like, well, guess I'm planning to be with my family and things like that. And he's like, well, what if I told you that if you take this job, you wouldn't be with your family at Christmas? And I was like, well, that's an interesting question to have to answer in July or, whatever. But it was a trauma sales rep position. And so anyway, in learning about that industry, just as an encouragement to everyone on this call, this podcast, like it is an unbelievable industry. But from what's interesting is my friend who referred me to that company, and I won't say the name of the company, but he referred me there. He told me, he said, look, you'd be really good at this, but I can't stand my boss that I work for. And I ended up not taking that job because I was like, I don't want to. I took his advice. I was like, I took his recommendation. And I say that to start out by saying, whether you're entering the field, like you said earlier, or you've been in med sales for years, it comes down to, in a lot of ways, especially when you get into leadership and management, it's like, what type of person are you becoming? Not just, hey, how much money can I make? And to answer your question, the message behind the sale is about a lot more than just the X's and O's of sales, because you can be really good at sales, you can be good at cold calling, you can do all these things, but if you don't have from a foundational level, if people don't trust you, if you push others to the side, that catches up to you. That people notice that they don't want to work with you. And so I think we could all think of people in our lives who have been, good examples of what it looks like to be an amazing salesperson, but also on the flip side. And so the message of the book is about a guy named Matt, and Matt Things at work are going great for Matt. Things are awesome, up and to the right. But at home, not so much. His wife, Kendra, she actually tells him, she says, Matt, you need to provide for our family. She's like, I didn't sign up to raise these two kids alone. You're never home. You need to provide. And he's in an aviation sale, in the aviation sales industry, so very lucrative as well, just like all of your listeners. And he said, provide. He said, I make more money in 1 month than the average person does in a year. So who are you telling to provide? Like that's it. That's his response. And so you can tell there's kind of this turmoil going on at home, but at work things are going great. So great, in fact, that he has the chance to land this huge sale. This sale would amount to a $72 million in revenue coming in for the company. He would actually get a $7 million commission check. And Dave, I know you have a lot of big timers on your show that are listeners. And so maybe to some of you med sales guys, or girls, you're like, Alex, 7 million is chump change. But to me, hey, 7 million is a lot. And so he has the chance to make the sale of a lifetime. The only problem is to move forward with the sale, to make it happen, him and his team would have to, like you said earlier, lack integrity in some major ways. And so the climax of the book, and it means a lot that you took the time to read it, is does he move forward with the sale and make all of this money, right? Because he starts rationalizing, with all this money, my life will be better. I'll fix all my problems. Or does he come clean with the client? Is he fully transparent? Does he do the right thing? And for your listeners, I can't tell them what happens because they need to go buy the book, right? They need to buy the book, but I think there's a few principles, while I'm keeping them all on a cliff hanging there, there's a few principles that the mentor in the book, his name's Randy, teaches Matt about integrity that I think are so applicable to whether you are entering the field you are as a medical sales rep or you've been in the industry for a long time. And those veteran sales reps would agree. It's like, look, day by day, when you're doing the right thing over and over again, I love this quote, consistency compounds. It's like over time, I think I heard John Maxwell say that consistency compounds. And it's like the more that the work that you're putting in day by day by day, that starts adding up. And then you look back later in your career and you say, wow, I did that the right way. Rather than you look back and say, wow, I cheated people. People didn't like me. I made enemies at work. And it's just like that. That is just not the way to do it. And so I'm excited to be on this podcast because, to your point, it doesn't matter where you're at in your career. These are principles that affect what you do on a daily basis.
That's so true. And, Alex, medical sales is not for everybody. I tell my listeners that it's one path. It's one career path that can make a difference in the lives of patients. It's one career path that can help one provide for their family, whether it's device or pharmaceutical. But it's also a career path where we have all experienced someone, VP, stand up, lecture us on stage in front of 1,000 people about ethics, DEI, and all this stuff, telling us about how good they are, but their marriage is falling apart. We see them afterwards, the way they're interacting, we know they're full of it, and they've lost trust in us. And so I think in any profession, it can be something used for good, it can be something used for bad, and all of us to step back, whether you're brand new in this industry or are new, looking to get in, to check our motives. To say, okay, what can I do today to live in integrity, to make the right decision today? And if we make the right decision today, we don't lie in the interview process. We don't make up numbers that aren't true. We don't tell surgeons or doctors things are not true. We state a label. We honor those who've trained us, our companies. So if we're in pharmaceutical, that means we stay to label. We don't get off label and say things just to try to get an extra patient. And one of the things I like about this book is, this guy had inherited a lot. His grandfather was very successful. He had a young family. He, in some ways, was doing well, but yet, as you mentioned, his marriage was falling apart. But as you mentioned, that mentor, comes across. There's a kind of surprise of how he meets this guy. This mentor was kind of, a surprise. He didn't know the wealth that this mentor had. And one thing I would say is that mentor was faithful in doing the little things. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about the power of having good mentors? because whether it's this career or something else, we all need good mentors. And maybe you could talk about some people that have poured into your life over the last few years.
Great question. And that's so valuable what you just said. Literally before this interview, and I promise this was not planned. I didn't even know you were going to ask that question. I was at Chipotle. I don't know if anyone is a Chipotle fan on here, but I was literally at Chipotle with just a good friend of mine. He was a college basketball player. He's now a pastor at my church. And then another friend, we just all three met up. He's a business owner as well. And just having the space as for us, and we're all in the same life stage. We're married with kids, young kids, and we're all not getting good sleep and all that. And to be able to have two other guys to just bring these things up, whether it's life or we were even just talking about like career direction. Hey, how are you feeling about this? How are things going? Like, it is so unbelievable because that's an example of two people who are my age who we're kind of all struggling together with it. So I think there's definitely power in that. And then there's a 72-year-old man named Larry who I meet with. He's actually one of my neighbors, but he is just a wise man and has lived a lot more life than I have, obviously. And he has a lot more gray hairs than I do. I'm starting to get a few now with young kids, you can maybe relate. I don't know. But, it's like being able to bounce ideas off of him as a 72-year-old and ask questions and get even on like business questions of just like, hey, I have this opportunity. What do you think? And something that he's brought up, which I really respect, he asked the question, at what cost? Yeah, you could do that, but like at what cost? What are you sacrificing to do that? And I think that is something in this life stage that I'm in. And I would encourage your listeners, do you think that through? Do you just blindly say yes? I've been trying to get better at not saying yes on the spot because I think I used to do that. I want to do everything. I'll say yes, but now it's almost like I need to guard my time so that when I'm with you on this podcast, my mind is focused on this and how we can add value to people listening and add value to what you're doing. Because if my mind is somewhere else, then I'm not here. My feet aren't where I'm planted. I'm not present. I'm thinking about other things. And as you start juggling all these things, that's what happens. And so I would say, and even this is cool that you brought up mentors. I mean, my co-author of the book, John Gordon, you've read a lot of John's books, and he's an unbelievable author. Like, that is someone who for 8 years, I added value to him. I did sales for his organization. I tried to get him booked at speaking engagements. I added free value. And then years later, I came to him with a book idea and we talked about it and we said, hey, let's do this book together. But it was after years and years and years of adding value, not really asking anything. And so when it was time we started talking about a book, he said, hey, tell me what you're working on. Let's talk about it. And I think it goes to show you in the book we talk about, building trust and just what comes with that. But it's like we lived it too as co-authors. And so I just think as he's a mentor in my life, it's also like, how am I being a mentor to people that are younger than me in my own life for other people? And so that's even something recently I've done. I met with, I guess I won't say his name, but I met with him a few weeks ago, actually at Chipotle as well. You're seeing a trend here. I don't know why it keeps being Chipotle.
There's nothing like a burrito bowl.
Yeah, nothing like a burrito bowl. But he's a kid. I led a small group when I was in college, and it's like we've lost touch. But now here we are meeting up. We're going to do go through a book once a month. And I just think the fastest way to grow in your career, to save yourself from mistakes, to is having a mentor. Is having someone who's gonna love you, but also is willing to speak truth into your life. Because I think in our culture today, people don't want to be told what to do, and they don't want to have someone speaking truth. But I think I heard John Acuff say this. He said, a leader who is not willing to be questioned is a questionable leader. And I think as leaders, as sales reps, we always have to be in the mindset of, hey, am I not only having integrity? None of us are perfect, right? But am I allowing other people like you? I look at you, man, and the success you've had. And when you tell me things, and I listen, right? Because I have the respect to say, how can I learn from you? How you've gone before me. What can I learn? How are you doing this with your finances or your business? Like, I just think it kind of takes that mentality. And so I think the quicker you can do that in your career, at least from what I've seen, the quicker you can just have awesome relationships. You can start pursuing the work that you feel called to. And that's why I love what you're doing. You're like literally elevating people, helping them find the right fit, man. It's just such meaningful.
Well, one of the things that you said that stood out to me is, and I know this too, back in my former career, I wrote books. I wrote the I Am Second book. I co-authored some books with a guy named Josh McDowell. But John Gordon is well known, New York Times bestselling author, The Energy Boss. everybody knows John Gordon. And I'm sure that he gets asked all the time by people, can I co-author with you? I got this idea. Can we do this? I got this great idea. Can I do this? And what I like is that you just served him. You took an interest in him and you said, how can I provide value to you? How can I help you? John, what are you passionate? What are you working on now, John? What can I help you with? Can I promote this thing of yours? And after giving and giving, then you earn trust. And I think for our listeners and for all of us, it's a great reminder. I have people all the time. My full-time day job is at Johnson & Johnson. Every single day I have people asking me, hey, can you refer me to this job? I see this posting at Johnson & Johnson. Can you refer me? And, sometimes I have to kind of guard my attitude. And so I'm like, well, I just had a baby a few weeks ago. Aren't you going to say, compliment me? Aren't you going to say, how are you doing, Dave? I'm longed out. Are you going to? And I have people ask, but the person who takes interest and say, hey, Dave, I noticed this and this. I know you have a podcast. I know can I help share this with a few people? Well, those people, I'm like, oh, well, sure. Is there something you're interested in? And I'm more willing to. It's a reminder for all of us, right? And you're doing a great job. Now, Alex, with our listeners, I want to transition the conversation a little bit because I have people who are VP of sales listen to this podcast as well. They may be interested in a different industry. They want wisdom in making the right hires. And a lot of them also are interested in being communicators, writing their own books. They know I wrote books. They're like, I got this great book idea. And we hear this all the time. And a lot of times my idea was just like, there's a lot of self-published crap out there that's just not good stuff. You're not willing to do the work. And you have this book idea, the cover looks horrible. Well, you have a program that is self-publishing, but it is top tier. And we look at, the quality of authors that you all are partnering with. And I think maybe we could just segue a little bit because for those who are wanting to become coaches and speakers and writers, tell us a little bit about your company, Streamline Books, because I tell people, if you're going to partner, if you're going to self-publish something, don't do it alone. You need to have the right partners. You need to do it with excellence because there's a million books out there. And what are you going to do to help separate your book from all these other books out there? Let's talk about your business. And I think this is going to help a lot of those VP of sales who want to write that book.
Yeah, I would love to. And really quick, you are a perfect example of when you mentioned, people reaching out to you about the job postings and, not even congratulating you about your new kid. I remember early on when we published the sale, you not only took the time to read the book, but then you asked questions in our first podcast that you could just tell you read the book. It impacted, and that meant so much to me. And so I think you are a perfect example. You are living what you just said. But absolutely, our company is called, absolutely. I just wanted to mention that. Our company is called Streamline Books, and our website is writemybooks.com. And what we do is we get to help individuals like yourself, Dave, or your listeners share their story, share their expertise. And to your point, a book it makes your message portable. It's something that you just never know the impact that your book will have. Truly, and you've seen it with your books that you've done. You just don't know. You don't know who's going to reach out to you on the email and say, man, I really read your book and I really loved it. It's essentially a business card, but it's something that can make a big impact on people's lives. And so, with our team, you get to work with a writer, a project manager, and an editor, and they help you bring your book to life. We do all the parts of the book publishing that you're just like, this is boring. I don't want to do this formatting, typesetting, we do all that for you. And that's part of our turnkey publishing process. So Dave, you didn't even tee me up for this, but I just want to say this on your show because we're here live. For anyone who's listening right now that reaches out to Streamline from this podcast, if we have in the show notes or whatever, we will extend a Dave special offer discount. So we will make sure to give them a discount, Dave, for anyone that comes our way. We would love to honor that for your show, man, because truly it's so, you just don't know who will be impacted. We just published a book for a former Major League Baseball player who spent time in prison. And it's like now he goes around and speaks at schools and shares his heart of why he met, what happened and how he's turned his life around. And I think from that person or from a business person to a medical sales rep, we believe everyone has a story to share and a book inside of them. And so our job is to bring that book out of each person and get it published.
That's great. What are some of the other books that you guys have been publishing that you're excited about?
Man, so there are so many I don't even know where to start. I mean, just today I was on the phone with she's the BYU track coach, head coach. Her name's Diljit Taylor. She's unbelievable. She actually has a few Olympians in the Olympics here soon that she's about to head out for that. She's amazing. She has a camp for girls that she does. I was just with Lieutenant Governor Kehoe here in Missouri, where I live. He's running for governor, and so he's using his book as a way to give out copies as he's campaigning across the state. Right now, he's in the lead. We'll see if he pulls through. But he's a great guy, and he'd be a great candidate. But ultimately, it's like there's so many stories, man. There's just so many unbelievable individuals we get to work with, man, that we just believe the book is the hook. Because people say, when you publish a book, are you on the Joe Rogan podcast the next day? And it's like, well, maybe not. Maybe not. It's that crazy of a life-changing thing. But there are things that start to happen, as you know, when you put your message out there, you're vulnerable with people, that people are like, oh my goodness, and they'll reach out to you and just say cool things. And it's just a way to build relationships too, man. If it wasn't for some of our books, I don't think we would be on this call right now. I don't even think we know each other. So that in itself just speaks to the fact that a book makes your message portable. A book is the hook, and it's something too that just allows you to be. It's an extension of your impact. It really is. It's an extension of yourself.
Alex, fantastic. I know you have another call to make right after this, so I just want to thank you for joining the show. This is very helpful. Check out Alex. Give us that website one more time.
Yeah, one thing I want to do for your listeners too, Dave, anyone who wants to read The Sale, obviously you can get it anywhere books are sold or on Amazon. But even if they wanted to just reach out to me directly, I'd shoot them, a PDF just so they could check it out, and any extra stuff I can add to them. But yeah, my website is alexspeaking.com. And that's where you can find my information on speaking and my books. And then writemybooks.com is where, if you want to write a book, we would love to connect with you. And again, we'll give you the Dave special.
Yeah, that's good. And also for my listeners who are higher up, you have some influence at your medical device or pharmaceutical company. I know you're always looking for speakers. Alex will be a great speaker for that. And again, as we always say, for those wanting to break into the industry, this career is not for everybody, but it's a great way to make a living. You can make a difference. You don't have to be in trauma sales. You can do pharmaceuticals, especially like in cancer, like what I'm doing. But check us out at Medical Sales U, and we'll provide free content for you. And for those who want to go further, we'll have that that exclusive course where I will personally mentor you. Alex, thank you so much for joining the show, and I look forward to seeing what's next. And hopefully, we can hear you speak at our company on the big stage.
Let's go, Dave. Well, hey, thanks so much for making this happen. I'm a huge fan of everything you're doing. Congrats on baby number 2, man. That's super exciting. Keep doing what you're doing, man. And thanks for letting me be part of your community here.
Hey, thank you so much. Take care.